Hi guys, in this video I explain dynamic binding. Dynamic binding is based on three concepts: inheritance, overriding methods, and polymorphism. If you're not familiar with all of these concepts yet, please check out my other videos on each of the concepts. I will put a link in the description below. Now let's start out by defining an inheritance relationship. I have a class named pet here. Inside this class I implement a jump method, and this method will output a message that the pet is jumping. Next, I create a class named dog. This class will inherit from pet. So now I have an inheritance relationship where pet is the superclass and dog is the subclass. Inside dog, I override that jump method. And this method will output dog is jumping. So now I have an inheritance relationship and I override the method in the subclass. Next, I will use polymorphism. In the main, I define a variable of type pet, and this pet variable will hold a reference to a dog object. So I will initialize it with a new dog object. Then I call the jump method on that variable. Now when running this program, what message will be outputted to the console? Will it be pet is jumping or will it be dog is jumping? Let's take a look. So let's run this program. And here we get dog is jumping. Now if you're not familiar with dynamic binding yet, you may have expected it to output pet is jumping. Because we have a variable of type pet, we call the jump method, so the likely expectation is that it would output pet is jumping. However, here is where dynamic binding was applied. It actually dynamically bound the jump method to the actual object type, which is dog. So it called the jump method on dog. Let's back up a little bit and see how this works. When we implement our program and we write the statements, we then compile the program. We translate it from source code into Java bytecode. And during the compilation step, the compiler will check that the jump method exists on the declared type. So the declared type here is pet. And the compiler will check if the jump method exists in the pet class. This is the case, so everything is good. Then when running the program, the runtime will see what the type of the actual object is. And the type of the actual object here is dog. So when invoking the method jump, it will check the actual object, see that the jump method exists there because it was overwritten, and then call the jump method in the actual object type on the dog. So this is the actual type here, dog. Now, if I would initialize it to pet and I run the same program again, it would output pet is jumping. Another example would be if I initialize it to dog, but I comment out this method, so it's no longer overwritten. This class is essentially empty. And I run this, it will also output pet is jumping. But by overriding this method, and then having a polymorphism here of the superclass type, that's the declared variable type, and then the actual subclass type of the object, running this program will apply dynamic binding. The method now is dynamically bound to the type of the actual object. Now this can be very powerful because we can apply different implementations by overriding the methods in the various subclasses of a superclass. And then each of these methods are dynamically bound based on the actual object that is being used in the program. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you see how dynamic binding and polymorphism can be very powerful in programs. Thank you for watching.